It was an eventful weekend in the world of motorsports this past Saturday and Sunday with a very different Sprint Cup race at Pocono, a crash-filled 24 hours of Le Mans, and a different format for the Indy cars in Texas, and the most unusual Formula One race that I've seen in recent memory. I'm Michele Rahal with Motorsports Unplugged and motorsportsunplugged.com, and this is the weekend's racing wrap-up for the weekend of June 13th. The heart-shaped love tubs of the Pocono resorts weren't filled with much love on Sunday, as the drivers had to contend with shifting gears for the first time since 2005. Kurt Busch took the pole in a backup car and stayed in contention for the win for the entire race. Ultimately, the victor, Jeff Gordon, and he needed it. Prior to Pocono, he was on the bubble of being able to contend for the championship chase later this year. His 2 wins now virtually guarantee him a berth, whether he has the points or not. The big issue with many drivers were the gear shifts. Even though it's known as a tri-oval, it's more like a road course coming out of the turns, and Tony Stewart was shifting 6 times per lap throughout. Not all the drivers had to, but it took its toll on the number of cars with broken transmissions and a broken valve seat by Carl Edwards. The points look like this going into next weekend's Michigan race. The 24 hours of Le Mans proved to have the most fireworks of the weekend, with 2 horrific-looking crashes by 2 of the factory Audi R18 TDIs. Early in the race, Alan McNish walked away from this visual nightmare, and despite the flying debris from the crash, no one standing behind the safety fence was injured. McNish tried to thread the needle between a sister Audi and one of the GTEP Ferraris. Well, it didn't work. The second Audi accident involved NASCAR team co-owner Robert Kaufman. In the early hours of the morning, the Audi approached him going into a chicane and allegedly bumped Mike Rockenfeller's Audi, sending it crashing into the guardrail at over 160 miles an hour. The ACO, the governing French motorsport body, asked that Kaufman not drive any further in the event. Well, luckily, Michael Waltrip wasn't at the wheel. To his credit, Kaufman took the news like a gentleman, and he seemed more concerned about the condition of Rockenfeller, which was listed as not major, even though he had an overnight hospital stay. Finally, Corvette took its 7th Le Mans win. The Grand Prix of Canada may go down as one of the most remarkable Formula One races in recent memory. It began to pour shortly after the start with damage to a number of vehicles, and then it was red flagged for 2 hours. Once the race got back underway, the tire strategies were all over the board. Jenson Button, who made a record 6 pit stops for the season, won the race, and you guessed it. On the last lap of damn near the last corner of the race, he forced Sebastian Vettel to overdrive his car and tires. Vettel slipped and Button won. The race wasn't without controversy, as Alonso was taken out in an incident with Button. Hamilton was taken out in an incident with Button, and finally Michael Schumacher appeared to be back on form, taking a 4th place. Finally, the IndyCar Series hit the Texas Motor Speedway with a new format Saturday night, the Twin 275s. Dario Franchitti won the first event over his teammate Scott Dixon by less than half a second. The second race was determined by draw, and Will Power drew 3rd, which was good enough for him to win his first IndyCar oval race. Let's hope that momentum can carry over. Somehow, despite the promotional prowess of Eddie Gossage, the Texas track this year has produced some very boring races between Sprint Cup and Indy cars. The question is, has the track cured to a point where it's a characteristic, or have the cars just changed? We'll see later in the year. That's it for this past weekend. I'm Michele Rahal with Motorsports Unplugged and motorsportsunplugged.com. Thanks for watching.